Hello, welcome back. I'm doing a reaction video. I found this very interesting. It's just what is it? It's called Lung of Faith, and the title of the video is the modern day women are what we call it, the younger generation women, why Gen Z women are becoming witches. It's something interesting. The reason why I want to talk about this is because Latin Americans know how to deal with brujas or witches, so this is going to be interesting. But let's get into it.
POV, resetting your body count to 0 through rituals.
Modern dating is a humiliation ritual. You either become dual income, no kids, or a cat breeder. Either way, you watch your bloodline die out. But we're beginning to realize that none of this was an accident. Just look at the fastest growing religions today. Among men, it's orthodoxy, rooted in tradition, self-sacrifice, traditional understandings of men and women. But among women, it's witchcraft, goddess worship, and new age spirituality, rooted in astrology, crystals, and worship of the divine feminine. But historically, this is not random. It's a clear indicator of a much deeper crisis. When civilizations are on the brink of collapse, one of the clearest indicators is that they turn back towards fertility cults, goddess figures, and the worship of the divine feminine. So when you see modern women turning to witch talk, divine feminine spirituality, pop star goddess worship, and antinatalist ideology, you are not just looking at a dating crisis. You are watching history repeat itself.
I'm just going to be real here. If you ever go to Panama or Colombia, in these countries, and you say you're a witch or a brua, we'll burn you in the stake. We don't play around when it comes to this stuff. So every time I hear a woman or titles like this, I get excited because deep down my witch hunter comes out, so to speak, because Latin Americans know how to handle with brujas and witches. We burn them.
Truth is, over the last 100 years, men and women have been part of a social engineering experiment that's been forming them in two completely separate and incompatible ways. But once we take a look at the data, the institutions, and the history of how witchcraft became the fastest growing female religion, the gender divide, birth rate crisis, and real story of feminism start to make more sense.
Oh boy.
And this is why. The uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud is that women are being used as vehicles for social engineering. That's why it simply doesn't work to tell men to just man up and get fit and focus on self-improvement.
Go swipe right. If your outcome is this, go learn how to DM. Go improve your DM game. Go improve how to message better. Go improve what emojis to send.
Because if it's truly the fault of our modern generation of men, then why were all the institutions and NGOs dumping billions into targeting women for the last 100 years? All you have to do is look at the data.
Do you believe in sin?
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world.
We've all seen the typical statistics that women are much more liberal than men, much more educated than men, and men and women increasingly don't like each other and therefore aren't having kids. But the part nobody's talking about is that this is all just a symptom of a much deeper problem. Because amid this so-called progress of our modern society, the birth rates are collapsing at tremendous rates. The US total fertility rate hit a record low of around 1.6 births per woman in recent years, well below the 2.1 per woman replacement level. But the dark truth is that men and women no longer live in the same moral universe or have the same conception of right and wrong. But why is this happening? Because morality has...
I'll tell you what's happening is because people don't have any common sense these days, man. They, especially women today, they just make your life way harder than it has to be. And I believe these people are super privileged and they're very fictitious pseudoscience. It's just amusing to me. You know, it's very amusing to me that you have a lot of people out here that actually does all these stuff just to get attentions. It's just attention. Once you kill attention on a woman, she gets back to her place. She puts in her place, and then she gets what she deserves. You know, like easy. Just shame them online, and next thing you know, they start quitting they start canceling and deleting their account. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's pretty explanatory, I think.
to be grounded in a worldview. So what exactly do women believe? Analysts are documenting that religion is on the rise in America. You might have seen all the videos saying that there's a massive religion resurgence, but not the ones that you might think. The fastest growing religious trends among men include Christian Orthodoxy, Roman Catholicism, with reports of a 78% surge in converts to Orthodoxy, with 20,000 people being baptized newly this year.
I'll just let you guys know I am Eastern Orthodox. Yeah, I'm the advocate of the Theotokos. Yes, I'm a big, huge advocate. Anywho, let's continue the video.
To the Orthodox Church, where for about every 2 men who enter Orthodoxy, only about 1 woman converts. So that's all fine and dandy, but where is all the female spiritual enthusiasm going? Because while many men are moving towards Orthodoxy, tradition, hierarchy, sacrifice, and repentance, many women are actually moving in the opposite direction. For women, the fastest growing spiritual currents are Wicca, witchcraft, New Age spirituality, astrology, goddess worship, and religious disaffiliation. These are not neutral trends. They are female-centered, anti-patriarchal, and built around the divine feminine, personal autonomy, emotional healing, and manifesting spiritual power. And we're going to get into what these movements actually believe here in a bit, because it gets much darker than just crystals and horoscopes. But the part nobody is telling you, not the manosphere, not the so-called right-wing Christian influencers, not self-help gurus, is that feminism itself is deeply religious. It has dogma, it has saints, it has heresies, rituals, and sacred victims, and forbidden questions that you're not allowed to ask. And at the center of it all is one core belief: patriarchy must be destroyed.
Why is that? Do you ever guys actually wonder these like so-called feminists, why do they do this? Why? This is a really good question, because now these days you got these people who are going pseudoscience in a day and age where AI and drones and tanks and computers and social media is like the new way of thinking, or we have access to this. Like think of this, when I see people who, as a Latin American man myself, when I see people in first world countries like in America who are doing all this crazy stuff, it tells me you haven't got your ass kicked. You're too privileged, you know. And not just that, let's be real here, if you bring that shit to, let's say, my father's country or my cousin's country from El Salvador, you'll be burned. We don't play with that. We don't. And still to this day, a lot of Hispanic people still believe that, including myself. And these people just need their ass kicked. That's all. Let's continue.
Tonight I'm playing Ashniko Femdom, and it's a little bit of a power play. There are 2 men holding my hair. Down with the patriarchy. That's the message.
I was out here hating men before it became a thing.
But my real muse was David Bowie. He embodied male and female spirit, and that suited me just fine.
I believe in manifesting. I believe in all of that magic of life, and that keeps me excited.
Can you do a tarot card reading for me?
Oh my god, I wish I brought them.
Yeah, what is that? What, are you just walking around set looking to do readings
every day? No, they come to me.
Oh, interesting.
They come to me.
Okay, so I like wearing body parts as jewelry. So I thought I wanted to wear my fans because I love my fans more than anything in the world. Right. So I thought they could send me their teeth, and then I made a headdress out of them, and I had like 1,000, so now I'm making a bra.
You said, I have to ask you this, you're telling me out of time that you've slept with a girl.
Do you see the unstability of these people, man? Like, that's not normal. And I mean, my bloodline came from a third world country. That's not normal. And she's boasting about this. And you know, it's really funny. There's a lot of people who think this is edgy and cool. And I'm going to be real with you. If you talk to any Latin Americans, I encourage you, just ask any Hispanic people. I'll give you one. And a lot of people don't know this. Just go and talk to a Mexican. Say, do you know anything about Santa Muertes? Their eyes going to light up and say what they saw, and they're going to go because a lot of Americans don't know that. They don't understand what real witchcraft is. Real witchcraft is killing people. That's what it is in the Hispanic world, and people don't understand that. And most Americans don't understand that. They think it's edgy, cool, stylish, because of their energy or sexual energy. No, it's killing people. That's what it is. And I know I'm going to be a little bit demonetized with this video when I say killing this, but I'm tired of sugarcoating this. Real witchcraft is killing people and drinking their blood, literally, and serving their heart to Santa Muertes. Okay? So when people pretend to do these things, you're just playing with fire, spiritual fire, because there are evil entities who wants to latch in your life and ruin you. And most Americans are most Western cultures are just too comfortable. They don't understand what they're doing. That's it.
Ghost. I have to ask you, have you slept with a ghost?
I did go to the Bone Zone with a ghost.
Goddess worship. Modern pop stars are not just selling music anymore. They are selling archetypes. They are selling spiritual identities. Let's start with Beyonce. Beyonce is not simply marketed as a singer. She is quote-unquote Queen Bee. Her imagery constantly leans into royalty, fertility, divine femininity, African goddess symbolism, and mass devotion. In Lemonade, she appears in imagery associated with ocean, the goddess of beauty, sensuality, fertility, and water.
It is a form of worship.
In the song Church Girl, she fuses church language with sexual liberation language, as if the sacred space itself has become repurposed into a celebration of autonomy. And the most diabolical of all, she recites,
I saw the devil. I grew thickened skin on my feet. I bathed in bleach and plugged my menses with pages from the holy book.
Yes, she means she used sacred scripture as a tampon, but it gets more explicit. Ariana Grande has openly embraced witchcraft in the occult. Literally releases a song called quote-unquote God is a Woman, and in the music video she is not just singing about empowerment, but she is placed at the center of the cosmos. She is surrounded by a choir. She reimagines religious art, even placing herself in the position of God the Creator in a recreation of Michelangelo's creation of Adam, which completely inverts the script because, as we all know, Eve came from Adam's rib. And when she performed it at the VMAs, the stage looked like a feminist Last Supper. Now, this stuff is not subtle, but then it gets a lot darker. Lady Gaga was one of the major bridges between the older blasphemous pop and the new ritualistic female celebrity cult. In Judas, she takes the imagery of Christ, Judas, and Mary Magdalene and turns it into pop psychology, betrayal, desire, and self-expression. In Alejandro, Catholic-coded imagery, rosaries, religious costumes, eroticism, and militarized choreography all collapse into one performance. With Gaga, pop becomes ritual, fame becomes religion, and the stage becomes an altar. And in recent times, record labels are trying to make this seem cute. Sabrina Carpenter, she takes sacrilege and turns into a joke. Her Feather music was filmed inside a Catholic church with coffins, death, veils, altar imagery, and men dying around her in stylized revenge comedy. When people were outraged, her response was basically quote-unquote Jesus was a carpenter. Then in taste, horror references, blood, revenge, obsession, even voodoo doll imagery. But then the altar turns openly satanic. The most striking example is the recent new artist Sofia Zella, whose music and performance embodies this new goddess archetype beyond blatantly. Her rapid emergence out of seemingly nowhere drips with female empowerment laced with man-hate and toxic rhetoric. Live, her concerts resemble religious services. Young girls worship her on stage.
See, it's just a bunch of narcissism, man. It's just a bunch of narcissism. Dude, these girls who do these things never understand what true hardship is. Especially if you go to like Africa or Latin American. And I'm talking about this because I hear stories. We don't mess with those. I'll tell you something. There was a story that my cousin was saying, like, they witnessed there was a woman who was a witch following her, and they used the relic of Saint Benedict to appeal to witchcraft from the Catholic Church. and they struck it down in the earth, and the witch fell, and she can't move. And then they came and plucked her hair out, technically scalping her. And they said, tomorrow we'll know who you are. And then the day after, so the morning came, it was morning, and they saw a woman who is bald, and they found her, and guess what? They dragged her and put her in the tree, and then they tied a rope on her neck, and yeah, they hang her, and then they throw fire at her, like watch her body burn while she was hanging. It's crazy, man. When I tell this to people about these things, man, like my American friends act a little weird. They get a little weird and soft. I don't know why. To me, it's normal because like we don't mess with these things. But when I see this, man, and I see these like, oh, I want to be, it's like emo girls. They want to get attention, and they're very self-absorbed, narcissistic women. And I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, you have everything, you know? But what can I say?
Screaming lyrics in trance-like devotion, treating her as a high priestess of feminine rage. This is goddess worship in real time. Tracks like, quote, "Everybody Supports Women" promote these deeply entrenched feminist ideas as if they're just widely accepted by everybody and we all ought to believe them. Quote, "Everybody supports women until a woman is doing better than you." Her EP, quote, "I Can Be Your Mother," features songs that blur maternal roles with dominance and seduction, and have obvious goddess worship implications. Twists nurturing control into, quote, "I can be your mother, I can be your dad, I can be anything but you." A demonic, genderless delusion. In one video, she tempts men with fruit in a clear reenactment of Eve offering the forbidden apple to Adam in the garden, positioning women as seductive disruptors of order. Rituals of affirmation where traditional faith is replaced by secular idolatry of the empowered woman. And later in the video, we'll explore how she's actually taking on an ancient Hindu goddess archetype. Now, when we go into the philosophy and the people who pushed this idea into American mainstream, we will see that this was actually their goal. What's really going on? But before we get into that, I just want to quickly remind you all that Lungs of Faith is a one-man operation. It's just me. Videos like this take a huge amount of time to research, write, record, and
I'm now financially free. I built a successful art business from scratch, and I live in my dream apartment. And I'm gonna tell you how I did it. I always make sure to keep 3 spells in my home at all times, and that is a luck and abundance spell, a protection spell, and a transmutation spell. I do make all of these myself with ingredients from a metaphysical or grocery store.
Even the Chinese are getting
into
into
this. I want to really resonate
this.
and align with everything that goes into the spell. And I do think that is the key to making a powerful spell.
I'm so sorry. I love Chinese people, man. I really do. But when I see a Chinese girl giving all those like witchcraft stuff, it's like, don't do this to yourself. Why? I like your food. I like everything. Why do you do this to yourself? Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't know. I don't know why I'm saying that. It's because I love Chinese people. That's why. But when I see them doing this, it's like, I thought you're smarter than that. Well, maybe not.
Give you a very, very powerful business spell to cast. It is actually my personal one that I use myself. This spell is the reason why I have such high quality clients, throw their money at me, who are loyal, who don't waste no time, all of the check boxes.
Because with enchantments, sometimes it really is easy as taking the cologne, maybe matching herb if you want to bathe in that. Take a cologne, your beauty sigil, put it underneath it, and spray your cologne. Bewitched.
Welcome to Glamour Magic 101.
Okay, goddesses, let's talk about strawberry magic. So, strawberries are really, really great for seduction.
I think this one ate the strawberries before she even got to the spell. The content that dominates online typically reveals what people are actually hungry for, and right now a massive amount of popular women's content is astrology, witchcraft, divine feminine energy, manipulation, therapy speak, anti-motherhood empowerment. Meanwhile, men's content is obsessed with success, lifting, discipline, money, and self-improvement.
That's what I'm talking about, boys. That's what I'm saying. I'm proud of you. Let's get into it.
movement, which, don't get me wrong, all have their serious problems, but pretending that men are equally in as bad of a state as women is just completely delusional. Men are being told to become stronger, women are being told they are goddesses. Those are not the same problem. An increasingly popular trend among young women is using their menstrual blood in rituals.
Think carefully about who you're doing this for, because you won't be able to distance yourself from that person ever again. Take a sanitary pad and make a hole in it. Through this hole, insert a photo of the person you wish to have in your life. If you are on your period, it is much more effective.
My God. What? What is going on? What is going on with women? This is crazy, man. I haven't seen this video, and man, they're just so bored. Ah, okay.
And then it moves into relationships.
I remember when I did a love spell on my boyfriend because he was treating me bad and I wanted him to act differently. It worked.
And the worst part is that even though they may be communicating with the demonic, getting insights from the enemy, much of the time they don't even see this as being witchcraft, but simply see this as something harmless that just works.
Okay, ready? We listen and we don't judge. In 2022, me and my boyfriend broke up in August, and I pretty much spent 9 months wishing that we would get back together and trying to find a way to get back together with him. And I was in my delusional era, so I was on TikTok on the tarot card girls that like tell you that your ex is getting back to you. Yeah, so that was all over my For You page, and I saw this video of this girl doing this love spell, and I think she was a witch, but I don't know. And I was in a time of desperation, and I did the love spell, and within 2 days he was texting me and calling me, and then within a week we were hanging out, and now we've been back together for over a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I am convinced that the love spell actually worked, and I have kept it because I'm afraid to throw it away, because if I throw it away, what if he breaks up? We break up, and this man now worships the ground I walk on like it's a completely different relationship than we were together before, and he would literally take a bullet for me, and it is the most healthy and best relationship I have ever had. And I swear that those witch girls, they just know something that we don't, because I never believed it, and I believe.
That is manipulation 101. Yeah, that's manipulation 101. Be careful out there, fellas.
And we don't judge.
But this just speaks to the grand delusion of the masses today and the lack of proper Orthodox Christian spiritual formation regarding the demonic. But once we get to the true history of feminism and the occult and what they're trying to accomplish, it sobers you up very quickly. But how did this happen? How did witchcraft go from something whispered about in the shadows, actively condemned and discouraged in society, to something your average suburban girl finds between skincare tutorials and dating advice? How did astrology, spell jars, blood rituals, goddess worship, and manipulation magic become normal enough to be packaged as quote-unquote healing? Well, this is where the story gets much bigger and points to a much more serious indicator of the state of our society, because historically when civilizations begin to collapse, they without fail turn back towards fertility cults, goddess figures, mystery religion, magic, and the divine feminine. And you see this in the late Roman world with the spread of mystery cults like Isis and Cybele. You see this in collapsing pagan societies where fertility, sexuality, and sacred feminine power become spiritual substitutes for a dying civic order. When a society loses God the Father, it starts looking for God the Mother. One of the most important figures in the rise of modern occult spirituality was Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. Born in the Russian Empire in 1831, Blavatsky became the central founder of something called the Theosophical Society in 1875, a movement that claimed to recover an ancient hidden wisdom beneath all world religions. Theosophy did not present Christianity as the final revelation of God. It treated Christianity as but one fragment of a much larger esoteric system, alongside Hinduism, Buddhism, reincarnation, spiritual evolution, hidden masters, occult powers, and secret knowledge. The society's goals were openly institutional, to form a quote universal brotherhood of humanity, to encourage comparative religion, philosophy, and science, and to investigate the quote unexplained laws of nature and quote powers latent in humanity. In other words, Blavatsky was not just selling private witchcraft, she was helping build a new spiritual framework for the modern world, one that could ultimately be synthesized into a single point of control, placing itself figuratively above all forms formal organized religion, which made it attractive to wealthy institutions and hegemonies that wanted to consolidate their power. And this is where ties between feminism, goddess worship, and institutions funding the stuff like the Rockefellers become impossible to ignore, as we will continue to see. Blavatsky's first major work was literally called Isis Unveiled, attempting to present the goddess Isis as a symbol of hidden wisdom beneath the surface of ordinary religion, casting the narrative that patriarchy must be defeated and replaced with the matriarchy, using Isis as a very useful symbol or Trojan horse into achieving that end. Later, feminist occult writers also turned Isis into a model of sacred feminine power, hence the obscene amounts of imagery relating to Isis in today's popular entertainment landscape. Historian Joy Dixon, in Divine Feminine, Theosophy and Feminism in England, argues that theosophy and its pantheon of goddesses became deeply connected to feminist political culture. Theosophists claim that women and, quote, the East possess spiritual forces that Western man had lost through materialism, empire, and rationalism. That is basically an early form of what we now call, quote, the divine feminine. This was not yet witch talk, but it was the seedbed, and it planted itself at the heart of the first wave feminist suffragist movement.
And this is where, like, if you go back, and that's very interesting. I just think when I hear these things and I hear it's going back to even the past, what we have accomplished, I still feel like they still weren't satisfied because of their whole constructions of how the way of life was made is actually made them comfortable, and then they just create all this stuff for attention, just like we're seeing today. That's it. That's what I see. Let me know what you think.
Perfect example that we need to understand after Blavatsky is Annie Besant. Now, it's common online to hear from men and women and even self-professed Christians that, oh well, first wave feminism was good, but you know, things got out of control with second and third wave feminism.
Feminists, look, the status quo, feminists ask for it, you're gonna get equality. You ask for equality,
that wasn't
you get
original
equality.
Feminism though.
No, well, feminism has always been a man-hating ideology, but that's another conversation.
That's not true either.
What a privilege.
And so my position would be we should give feminism credit for the good things it has done to improve women's dignity throughout the course of history, including what first wave and even some second and third wave feminists.
I think from the beginning, feminists have always been concerned with this core question. What does it mean to be just to women as women?
But that couldn't be further from the historical truth. Besant was not some obscure mystic. She was a major public intellectual, a secularist, a socialist, feminist, birth control activist, theosophist, Freemason, and even eventually the first female president of the Indian National Congress in 1917. And she's important because she brought together the ideas that most people today imagine are separate: feminism, socialism, contraception, anti-Christian radicalism, occult spirituality, and political revolution. When birth control is brought up, we automatically think of the 1960s, but people don't realize just how much further back this actually goes. In 1877, Besant and Charles Bradlaugh republished Charles Knowlton's birth control pamphlet called Fruits of Philosophy, which was once long buried underground as way too insane and controversial. They were prosecuted for it, but it still served as a major victory for the feminists and occultists because the trial turned birth control into a national public dialogue and issue that was no longer fringe. Afterwards, they helped found something called the Malthusian League, which promoted contraception to limit family size. Malthusianism comes from Thomas Malthus, who argued that population growth could outstrip food and resources, producing poverty and social crisis. Now, this was based on very faulty data and terrible premises, but regardless, this narrative made its way into society and still continues today, and ultimately the solution became population control, oddly politically convenient. Now, Besant herself didn't associate herself with the term, quote, antinatalist, but she helped normalize one of its deepest assumptions, that children are no longer the natural fruit of marriage and sexuality, but they become optional, delayed, managed, prevented, and controlled. And this is why Besant becomes so important. She shows us how feminism was advanced not only through politics, but through the occult. In Victorian society, mainstream science, religion, and public authority were overwhelmingly male-dominated, but theosophy gave women a way to bypass those structures entirely. Instead of appealing to the church, the academy, or the the family, women could claim authority through the institution, clairvoyance, mystical sensitivity, reincarnation, and hidden spiritual knowledge. Very similar to how women today just say, oh, I'm following God's will. Oh, how do you know that? Oh, God told me. You know, I had a dream. I had a vision.
Healing you right now. Thank you, Jesus. I detach you from all of that you renounce now. I break every word curse spoken over you and over your identity.
I'm just following my female intuition.
And
yeah. Dude, this is crazy. I like this so far. That's just how we feel.
Practically speaking, this is how first wave feminism worked. It recommended and promoted women to leave the home so that they could become part of institutions outside of the family, so that through the women they could be used to control the inside of the family, which is the patriarchy.
Why did I take a defense job? That's a funny question. I never thought of that before. Do you have to have a reason? We're in a jam, aren't we? I'm sorry, but you'll have to excuse me. I'm too busy to answer dance school questions like that.
I feel like that she gave a little sass there. I kind of like that. Yeah, that's a little sassy. What year was this? 1942, I think. Kind of like that sass. I don't know. It's something I never hear today.
In other words, the very traits often associated with femininity were rebranded as higher forms of knowing. This is the part people conveniently ignore when they romanticize first wave feminism. Its roots were not only voting rights and legal reform. The first wave was explicitly occult, anti-patriarchal, anti-Christian, and revolutionary from the very beginning. Wicca. No, not Wigga. Although we are real Wiggas out here. Wicca with two C's. You've probably heard about it online, but most people don't really understand what it is. The topic has long been going viral, especially as it's been rising to becoming the most popular religion among women today.
Wicca is one of the most popular branches of paganism, and there are so many different traditions.
But what exactly is it, and where did it come from? Before we get to answering that hot question, we need to touch on Aleister Crowley, who was the so-called spiritual father of the inventor of Wicca. Crowley was a British occultist, ceremonial magician, and founder of Thelema, the modern occult religion built around the famous satanic command, quote, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." He called himself, quote, the Beast 666, practiced what he called, quote, magic, and placed enormous emphasis on will, sexual rituals, and spiritual self-divinization. This matters because Crowley represented a shift from religion as obedience towards God towards spirituality as the expression of sovereign self. That is the bridge to the modern world. That was the vehicle that was actually used to make these abstract philosophies flourish into the mainstream. Sex becomes magical technique, the body becomes a ritual instrument, then will becomes sacred, and you see it all over Barnes & Noble bookstores where essentially all of a sudden now they're giant metaphysical witchcraft bookstores. But this did not stay isolated. Crowley's ideas influenced the world of modern occultism, especially through Thelema and Ordo Templi Orientis. Most importantly for this story, scholars have specifically connected Crowley to the early development of Wicca, because the modern witchcraft revival did not simply descend untouched from ancient village paganism. And that brings us to the man who would package that occult stream into modern religion for the post-Christian West. Gerald Gardner, the central figure behind the invention of Wicca.
Working with witches in the team, we can produce results. But can you give me any example of these results that you claim? Well, here I've got a wax image that was made 11 months ago, last November precisely. A man was doing a very clever bit of blackmail, attempting to get some property. Because we can't fight against him, he's too strong. The man wouldn't. He said it cost him £3,000, he wouldn't give it up, so he went to a witch. So she bound him up so he couldn't move in the matter, and pinned his lips together so he couldn't speak in the matter. And within 2 days afterwards, his lawyer wrote in and said, "Our client's been here and insists on renouncing all claims and insists on signing documents to that effect, and we'll send them to you as soon as they've been stamped."
Gardner claimed that witchcraft was not merely superstition, but the survival of an ancient pre-Christian religion. In witchcraft today, he presented witches as initiates of a, quote, an old and probably Stone Age religion, preserving ancient knowledge through covens, circles, and goddess-centered worship. But this is where the story gets important, because Wicca presents itself as ancient. But scholars generally describe it as a modern reconstruction, modern invention. It was systematized in the 20th century through Gardner, drawing from folklore, ritual magic, Western esotericism, the discredited witch cult theory, and reconstructed pagan material. And Oxford's work on Crowley and Wicca notes that Gardner drew heavily on Crowley's work in the early stages of Wicca, even if that influence later sort of got buried under the sand. And that is why it fit the post-Christian West so perfectly. Wicca gave modern people the feeling of ancient religion without the authority of the church, ritual without obedience, politics, nature without creation, sexuality without procreation, goddess worship and unrestrained sexuality and slavery to the passions, and spiritual power without repentance.
Again, I'm going back to what I'm saying. I think it's just a bunch of narcissistic, self-absorbed people who think they're above everything else, including our Creator, our Lord Jesus, Savior Jesus Christ. No, it's just when people say about these things, when I see these informations, as a Latin American man, I think it's very odd. It's very, very odd, because it's really strange and funny, because in my way of thinking about witchcraft is you kill people through any means necessary, and you give something to offering to that person. For instance, like you could put their hearts in jars, and then you can actually run the whole family sick and ruin the bloodline. That's in Mexico and all that stuff. I mean, in Latin America, it's more brutal and more savagery. It's because if you think back of it, most of those people before the Spaniards arrived were practicing human sacrifices all throughout the ages. And what does this has to tie to this video? Well, it's the money thing is that it's more like painting a good person, a bad person to a good person, so to speak. But honestly, seeing this information, I don't think it's like real witchcraft, because real witchcraft is killing people. That's what it is. I don't care what anyone says. It's really, you want people and their families sick and wish them ill will. That's what I see it as. But I just see this as like a political agenda, so to speak. But I want to know what your guys' thoughts down below in the description.
But the 1960s are where this stops being an elite occult world and becomes mass youth culture. Before this, you had Blavatsky, Theosophy, Crowley, ceremonial magic, and gardeners systematizing modern Wicca. But in the 1960s, those old...
By the way, I love hippies because they're funny. They're just funny people. I like them, just funny people to watch.
Older streams exploded into the mainstream through music, drugs, sexuality, psychology, Eastern religion, and rebellion. The counterculture rejected almost every inherited institution: the church, the family, sexual morality, patriotism, hierarchy, and traditional authority. But this wasn't accidental. It replaced Christianity with personal spiritual experience. Young people turned to psychedelics, yoga, meditation, Hinduism, Buddhism, astrology, occultism, Wicca, commune, free love, and the language of, quote, expanded consciousness. Figures like Timothy Leary and Richard Alpert at Harvard helped popularize psychedelic experiment.
You know, that guy been through a lot, like raves, stuff. All of our grandparents in the 70s and 60s went to those raves just to have that inner love. Wink, wink. Yeah, we all know what you're doing at the time of your guys' teenage 20s years. I know.
Alpert later became Ram Dass, one of the major bridges between psychedelics and Eastern spirituality. The Beatles helped make Indian religion and transcendental meditation fashionable. Alan Watts brought Zen and Eastern mysticism into the American imagination.
Why do we have to put ourselves in boxes? Why is everything constructed in rectangles? The world is not rectangular.
And the Esalen Institute in California became one of the nerve centers of the human potential movement, a place where psychology, Eastern religion, sexuality, encounter groups, mysticism, and self-realization all blended together and stemmed out of. And then there's the CIA. At the same time this youth spirituality was exploding, the CIA was secretly running MKUltra, a covert mind control and chemical interrogation program involving LSD and other drugs. And many modern scholars will agree history, the occult, and witchcraft, heavily influenced by Aleister Crowley. Congressional investigations later revealed that the CIA funded and conducted experiments, sometimes on unwitting subjects, in an effort to study behavior, control, interrogation, and psychological manipulation. Do as thou wilt, and let that be the letter of the law. This is where the CIA question becomes impossible to ignore, because one of the most famous faces of second-wave feminism, Gloria Steinem, had a documented relationship with the CIA before she became a feminist icon. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, Steinem worked with the so-called Independent Research Service, an organization used to send American students to communist youth festivals in Europe as a part of a Cold War anti-communist strategy. The New Yorker summarizes the point bluntly. Steinem was in charge, knew where the money was coming from, and later said, quote, "If I had a choice, I would do it again." This isn't ancient history, it's context. The 1960s didn't just happen. Psychedelics, Eastern spirituality, free love, occult revival, radical student politics, and second-wave feminism all detonated at the same time and at the same moment. And at the core of nearly all of them was a shared mission, the subversion of Christian patriarchy.
Yeah. Alright. I'm gonna take a break from that. I'm gonna leave the original video down below so you guys can watch the whole thing. But my take into this information is basically saying what I'm seeing today and what I'm seeing through media and through music and entertainment in Hollywood is I think people are out of whack, you know? People don't want to follow the rules anymore. People don't want to value order and love, and not just that, real love from Jesus Christ. And it's like, it's delusion. It's La La Land. But I'm always going to say this. Real witchcraft is hurting people. Really hurting people. Like putting them to the ground, hurting people. That's why when I hear people who practice these things, I think it's just a very shame, sad. You have to choose that side, the fallen side, the dark side, so to speak, instead of actually owning up from your actions, taking accountability, and becoming something more than who you are today. Your purpose. Your purpose is everything. Because that's one thing about our religion, is that we know the truth, and we are more likely to share the truth, be part of the truth, and actually willing to uplift people and bring them to salvation. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people who do practice these things, and I just say to them, you're just a bunch of nut jobs. You know, you don't know what you're talking about, because, again, real witchcraft is killing or hurting people. And I just want to let you guys think about these things, because I think it's important for you to realize that this is not just a cultural war. This is a spiritual war, and we need to be prepared for these things, you know. And what we need to do is be more considerate and be productively active towards our faith in Jesus Christ and our Lord. And until that day comes, we have to be prepared. Especially, we will not tolerate these things. And believe it or not, I just think there's just a bunch of children they just need to get their ass kicked. That's it. They don't know what pain is. But let me know what you guys think. I think this is a productive video. I normally don't do long videos, but please, if you like the video, please hit the subscribe button. I appreciate it. I'm trying to get more followers and a bigger community so I can share some plans what I want to do with my channel, because I'm still learning how to work on things. But again, I like these things because it gives us a little bit of light on things. We don't have to be very, very red pill. We don't have to be very serious on stuff. We could just talk about a lot of things and what we could do about it so we could solve the problem. And if we have more people who are going to be solving the problem and take corrective action on their lives and controlling our lives, I think we're going to have a better society. But the more we have, the better we can do. And I'm going to leave you with that. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you on the flip side. Bye.